Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On Point EDC. Today I have a really cool update for you from the brand Karas Kustoms. They were founded back in 2010 out of Mesa, Arizona in the good old US of A. And I probably categorize them within that mid-tier market segment, providing stylish custom machined gear. Now, amongst that gear, you guys can find some really, really cool custom pens. I mean, honestly, one of the first pens I reviewed on the channel was a Karas Kustoms pen. Within that space, of course, you're going to want to be looking for that unique design language, something that is fun with a fidgetable actuation, and of course, you're going to hope that it has premium materials and construction. This is one of their newer releases, the Modal, which actually, when it first came out, I was totally surprised because it's been a while since I'd seen them really drop something so far departed from, just kind of refining their existing lines. And what the Modal really is, it's a high quality American made pen body with a bolt action mechanism sized well for everyday carry. They definitely had EDC in mind because this is a really sleek layout. And I know with how congested the kind of bolt action space is for pens that Karas just didn't want to add something and do something just to do it. They wanted, if they're going to do something, they wanted to actually add something new to the landscape. And I can appreciate that. The cool thing is these fit great Pilot G2 as well as Schmidt EasyFlow 9000 refills, which are fantastic. This one has the G2 in it. And they go for $79 direct. I actually purchased this one when I noticed that they had a new release. I think I might have got notified either via email or I was scrolling through Instagram. But either way, it's been so long since I've had one of these in hand. I definitely wanted to take my time with it and really get to know the pen before sharing it with you all. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay guys, before we dive in, quick customary wristwatch check. Today I have on my Orion Field Standard 2, and I think it's a great pairing because what this pen does, right, it's kind of similar. You take something that's a very classic layout, right, a black pen body with a silver clip, and then even now both bolt actions really being very, very popularized. They're a bit of a common novelty these days. Here you have, of course, also within the vein of American products, Orion, which is, out of America. And they have this really cool, it's basically a field watch, right? Your classical field watch formula, but just modernized. And they, doing something to do something different and bring something to the genre versus just doing something, right, to cash in. So I can appreciate that. So that's why I have it on the wrist today. But Karas Kustoms, very, very cool. They do actually a lot of cool giveaways where they'll just like hide pens out in the wild while they're on vacation for the weekend or whatever, and then you have to go find the pen, which is pretty cool. So follow them on Instagram if you're interested in stuff like that. Hopefully they still do those. It's been a while. But a very cool, fun company that provides very cool products. Now, getting into this is actually made out of a 6061T aluminum, which has been anodized black in this case. Very solid build, very functional mechanism, guys. The bolt action feels very well thought out and very well refined. Check that out. Very smooth. You can see it doesn't protrude a lot. It really is depending on good ergonomics, right? Not necessarily having a bunch of jimping, just like with knives, right? Some knives are going to depend on some of those more tactile points, and some of them are going to be relying a little bit more on design. And I will say, in this case, there you go. You're not having to muscle that, which I think is very, very neat. And of course, you can see with this profile that this pocket clip here is quite nice. It's a bit stiff. It's big milled, right? The tolerance is tight, so you're not going to lose this. But it could be a little bit springier, if you ask me. But you know, some people really are gonna like the security, especially if you're gonna be carrying this more like a pen, right? If you have this in a shirt pocket, right, or blouse pocket, the front shirt pocket, you're gonna have much thinner material, so this is gonna be perfect in terms of holding that bite. But if you're more on that, you know, taking this, you know, with your field notes out into the field and maybe jamming it into your cargo pants, it's going to be a little bit of a tighter squeeze. But the nice thing is you do have that nice raised front lip there, and the lower portion isn't, I mean, there's a very small contact patch there. You can see if I can lift it barely there. So it's still going to work, but yeah, definitely I would say more optimized for office work versus outdoor. Although the size makes this really great as something that you can always have with you, which I think is very, very cool. So getting into the length, about 5.1 inches long, 11 millimeters thick, and just about under an ounce at 0.84 ounces. This thing's cool, guys. Check it out. I'm a lefty. Yeah, so this wasn't made for me. But I will say, as a lefty, really very few pens are made with me in mind, right? Because you know, we're not the majority. But the nice thing is, works great still. I mean, I can still fidget with it as a lefty. Boom, wham, bam, right? But it feels good. You know, it's not like the clip gets in the way and any weird things. If I did want to like not choke up too much on it and, you know, maybe keep my hand more in the center, it doesn't really matter. This feels good in hand. And the nice thing is even the bolt here doesn't do anything harsh in hand, right? Not that you're going to be, you know, doing all this pen play where you're actually writing, but, you know, if you have a spot, you know, where your hand is comfortable writing, excuse me, it is always nice to have, you know, something that feels smooth in hand and really feels ergonomically thought out. And I will say that in this case, that does feel quite ergonomically thought out. Again, even for a lefty. But for all the righties out there, I'll hold it for you. I'm not great with my right hand, but check it out. All right. So this was probably going to be a little bit more intuitive in terms of design, because now you're pushing down to engage, swiping up, boom. That's probably, I mean, I'm just less coordinated with my right. So it's probably more intuitive, but I will say as a lefty, still totally good to go. Bam. So yeah, of course, I'm not going to take out a piece of paper and write a bunch of stuff because Karas doesn't make the refills. So really, you know, it's just a G2, a Pilot G2 in there right now. So if you want to know how that writes, well, there's plenty of ways for you to find out, whether it be just picking up a G2 you have in your office, or just purchasing one, or just seeing a million reviews for those. What I will say is some really cool features, guys. Look at that. The way the light hits these kind of micro striations there across, really cool. And although it's not like a jimping, it does provide a nice, that little extra bit of purchase there versus it feeling, you know, super slick like you're gonna get here. This is actually quite slick in terms of its finishing in hand, but again, you know, this isn't marketed as something you're gonna be using underwater while you're diving, right? This is a pen that you're gonna use on a daily basis, and man, yeah, it's just a fun one, guys. I dig it. So, closing thoughts, guys. In-hand ergonomics, very smooth and balanced. It is, of course, on the thicker side at right around 11 millimeters. But you know what? It's also made out of aluminum, so it doesn't feel super bulky or heavy. So I think, you know, in terms of fatigue or anything like that, it's going to be really a non-issue. That bolt action is great. Definitely fun to fidget with, like you'd expect for a bolt action, right? They're not necessarily chosen because they're you know, necessarily the best quote unquote you know, solution to how to actuate your pen, but it's a fun one, and that theme carries on here. But I'd say just a little bit more of a grown-up style in terms of it's just a little bit sleeker, just a little bit more refined, and I can appreciate that. Now, in terms of in pocket, definitely slim and unobtrusive. You do still have that nice deep carry pocket profile there on the clip. Very cool in terms of model variants. Definitely check the site links in the description for options and availability, which there are always going to be a ton when it comes to Karas. Whether you can, get this, I think, in brass as well, or you can, of course, have it anodized in tons of different colors for the aluminum, which I think is smart. And also it does keep the pricing down underneath $100, and you're still getting that USA construction. Now, in terms of comparable options, guys, there are a lot of bolt action pens on the market, but I think the Modal manages to actually feel fresh, which is cool. While I think still being executed to quite a high level. Now, it's not some crazy Mont Blanc luxury piece, but there's definitely something to be said for the amount of handwork and, machining that goes into this piece in terms of, pitting it against some of the more classically made pens that are going to be even more expensive in a lot of cases. But, I think less handworked, and of course, typically with a lot of overseas components and finishing. Pretty cool to have something like this. And again, this isn't meant to kind of go toe to toe with, all of those other bolt action pens that are out there, especially ones that are titanium that are very popular. This is giving you just a different option, and it's, a little bit more affordable, a little bit sleeker, and just a little bit different. And I think different enough for you guys to want to try out. So bottom line here, guys, is I'm really happy to see Karas Kustoms still producing great products at very attainable price points. So with that said, let me know what you all think down in the comments below. If you like the video, please do it like. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.